Meeting of the tree. I'm sorry. In session. Anybody, we have to get a second for that? Okay. Approval of the minutes. Now we have two sets of minutes. I'm assuming we have to approve both. Not sure. You said something about, oh, we didn't have a forum in July, that's why.
Well, it wasn't that last week you didn't have a quorum of the
Forum.
People who
People
were.
who were
Part of the
at-
people who'd been at that meeting,
Yes.
right, so you couldn't approve the minutes, that's right, yeah.
Do we know?
Hey, Ron, how are you? Hey. Hi, guys.
So do we have the required people here to make that happen?
You can remember.
I'm not sure about the rules, but,
Yes,
I move that we approve the minutes of July 1, 2024.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
I think you already did that one time, right?
No, we didn't have a quorum of the people who'd been at the July meeting.
You people are way too technical.
It wasn't me who said it.
So where are the minutes from September?
right,
We're about to talk about them, I think.
Yeah.
They're right here, I haven't seen them, so I can't really make a comment on them.
Yeah. Well, the pack that I received just had July in it. Oh, I'm sorry, has the meeting begun?
Yes.
Oh, my apologies, everyone.
All right, so then we were looking at the minutes of the September 7th. I'm sorry, September 9th, 2024. Does anybody see any additions or corrections? I have one. If you look at the application 2024-12, Ron Vukovic, in reference to a tree at 128 East 4th Street, we didn't have the name of the owner. We now have the name of the owner. It's Ian Huntley, IANHUNTLEY. And,
Carl, it was Arthur that found it, right?
but we need to officially make a motion we had looked it over and I think we're all in agreement that the tree should be removed. Anybody have additional comments about that?
Are we talking about the tree or are we talking about the minutes?
Well, we need to, well, that's a good point. We need to add the name to the application.
Right, so it would be, I move we accept the minutes as amended.
Okay. Then later, I guess we can,
Anybody second?
yeah, it's old business. Okay, thank you.
Anybody second it?
Thank you.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, anybody see any other change, additions or corrections? Done. All right, so any public comment or comments from the floor? None. Seeing none, we'll move forward. All right, so these are old business items that we had.
Do you want me to talk about this for a second?
Sure.
Okay, I talked to Diane, Delgado today, and, she told me that, our budget is 32,000. We have currently $31,276 left. I don't know what the $724 is. On the other hand, I know that they charge rent for this place, so it may even be just that. I don't know. She couldn't tell me, but we have an outstanding invoice from Carl Miller, who I didn't know, and you say is one of the people who does planting.
Yes.
For $1165, that has not been taken out so far. And also, last month, she said to me that we were waiting for the Bartlett invoice, and that was going to be, something out of our budget this year. But she said that she had misspoken because the Bartlett invoice had been had been paid in July. And so they were finished for the year, so there would be no more Bartlett. And that the total paid to them for this year, for whatever they did, is $5,811.
Extraordinary.
It is extraordinary.
I think that's the ash borer treatment.
Yes,
Yeah.
but as you said, many times treating trees that were
Yeah.
essentially dead.
In last month's meeting, we did, and I submitted a request to the city to investigate, but I did not hear anything in return about that.
And 32,000, our original, what they approved was 20,000.
No, that's what we thought. Turns out we got 32,000.
I know what was 32,000. What I don't know is, it was supposed to be, when I went to the meeting, they approved for me there, and part of those, 15,000 more. So it should have been 35.
Well, all I can tell you is the final budget had 32,000, of which 2,000 goes to the beautification committee. So it's actually 30,000.
That's true.
This
Yeah.
is according to
So,
Dan
it's
Decker.
only-
And also,
Well, it
I
is.
looked at the physical budget and it said
Yeah.
32,000. So,
Well,
you know what? Everything that happens at those meetings is subject to, changes without
no, they approved
communicating.
it right there. And they even said that if we have something that's important that we don't have the money to do it, get in touch with them.
Well, that may be. But all I can tell you is 32,000 is the.
Okay, well, I'll talk to them.
So along with this Bartlett, I looked into that. They treat every 2 years for EAB.
So we shouldn't be getting an annual bill.
You should not, well, you shouldn't be.
Unless there's
but-
other things we don't know about. So,
Well, this is information is from someone who has Bartlett treating their trees. And it's every 2 years. There also is a guarantee in there, if the tree is killed by EAB, Bartlett will remove the tree for free. But
You
it
have to
has,
prove that it was.
it has to be proved, so there's a native boar that creates a round hole and can kill it. The emerald ash borer creates a D hole. But if it's an emerald ash, there's no charge for removal if they've been treating that tree.
and they'll do that as a preventative method to
No,
prevent.
because they guarantee their injections that much.
So theoretically,
Oh, I see.
if it was every other year and say 2 years ago, they treated a tree. And then they again treated it this year, it must have been that they thought that it was worth treating, so it must not have been dead 2 years ago. You catch me? Did you catch
I
me?
understand what you're saying, but from the ash trees that I've seen on the streets, it's ridiculous to be treating them.
Yes, but what I'm saying is maybe we can use that to have them remove the trees.
If it's proven to be EAB, yes,
You prove that.
you have to find the borehole. So they would come out and prove it or disprove it. But it's nice to know that in the back that that's their guarantee.
Yeah,
But they're the ones that have to approve.
Right, and so there's other, ash gets tanker, there's a native boar, but if it's EAB, they,
seems to me we really need to get the Bartlett people here to go through every tree and tell us what's good there, don't you think? I mean, for all the ones that they.
I think that a lot of those trees just have to be removed from the list because they're not worth
Yes, but
spending the
if-
money
but
on.
If Bartlett can remove them, that
Well,
saves us a
yes.
lot of money.
Yeah, but I think the committee has to look at the trees and say, no, there's no point. If it's half a tree's left, you're not saving the half that's already dead.
Right,
So
That's-
then you get Bartlett to say what killed it. And
That's what I mean. If Bartlett came out here with, Carl or whoever, or you, more of an expert than any of us, probably, to go through every tree and say, you've been treating this tree for 4 years and now it's dead, and, here's the borehole that indicates that it was EAB. So you're gonna remove it, right? And you just mark those with an X that, Bartlett is gonna remove. Am I wrong about this? I mean,
They're gonna have to prove, they're gonna fight it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know if you wind up having to pay Bartlett to come out and look at all the trees.
you probably, I mean, I would think that if we're gonna come out, and say, come out and look at 50 trees. Well,
are there 50?
No,
No, we
I'm
had,
just
I sent a list to Rick last week or last month after our meeting. I have the list here that there's 4 ash trees and a big leaf linden and a zelkova, the trees that Ron went around, and took photos of. And I asked the question, how do you want to proceed with this? And I didn't get a response about that, so.
On
I
that
asked him,
point,
I asked him again today.
right, I know you did, I saw the email. So, just to refresh where we've been, at the end of our last meeting, I handed out 8 pictures of trees that were 50% or more dead.
Right.
And one meeting later, have any of them been removed?
No,
Okay, we made a list of 7 or 8 tree stumps that needed to be removed. Have any of those been removed?
no. No, I asked for that. I asked whether because he needs to get bids for that. And I asked him if he had gotten the bids for that yet. Didn't get a response, so.
Because as I remember after last meeting, I think either that evening or the next day, you sent the information along. So the city has it.
Yes. So, at this point, then, I just have to keep asking. If I get an answer, and I will do so. Okay. Anything else about Bartlett? So I'm going to ask the question as, what is involved in the 5811 invoice that Bartlett is receiving? Why are they receiving that money? And then ask also about the trees that are dead, and if a tree dies after treatment, is there any type of if they will actually come and remove the tree? So I will do that. I will, as I do at the end of every meeting, I will send a report of the things that we're requesting or recommending that be done. And then, at this point, we have, one of the things we talked about last meeting, and I'm trying to get a little organized with it, is keeping tabs on the applications that we've approved, because,
Right.
For example, Ian Hunley at 128 East 4th Street had submitted an application quite a while ago. Ron just resubmitted it to bring it back to the top of the pile. But he said he had, I think it was 6 months ago, or maybe longer. So in order to
What's the
prevent that,
address?
128 East 4th.
Didn't I look at that a while ago?
Yeah, we all did. And we approved that it be removed, but it just never happened. And then that's where we have to be better at following up and keeping track. And I did ask about, because there was a discussion last time we talked about this, that there was a book or a report or a document in the city office that kept track of all the applications and what the process, what the progress was for each of those applications.
Isn't that the thing that she made up? They gave me a copy.
Yeah, but it no longer exists currently.
And then, I think, Kim, verified that there was such a document.
She did.
And she was looking to see if she could find it on an old computer.
Yeah, now she has not found it yet.
Okay.
So it's maybe something we need to start again from scratch and just, to get it going again. So that is number 2 on my list. All right, so under old business, speaking of that, I would like to add the 2024-12 as part of the old business discussion for today, Ian Hundley, and at 128 East 4th Street. And our recommendation would be that it would be removed. And we just need a motion to finalize that.
Make a motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, so then going down through this old list here, a lot of this has been taken care of. Application 2024-11, Lillian Shu. She's requesting that her historic pitching post in front of her house be removed and replaced when the stump grounding happens. We all know the stump grounding has not happened, therefore that is going to be pushed forward to the next month meeting.
So
Table it.
that's, I mean, I've seen the pitching post and all. That's gonna be really hard to do. It's gonna be hard to grind the stump.
Yeah.
But then I wonder why you guys are responsible for removing a piece of metal.
Well, it's on city property. And it's been there since she's been there, apparently.
But you don't remove light poles and fire hydrants.
That's horrible, really.
I mean,
No, that's a good point.
you're gonna have to get, you're probably gonna have to cut the concrete, get a backhoe in there.
Well, there is precedent for that, where we just planted a tree over by, the bank. Remember, there was a honey locust
Right.
there,
Yeah.
in front of the honey locust, there were 2, iron ballards.
Yeah,
And, Rick sent someone over with a front end loader, wrapped a chain around them and pulled them both out. And then they went to work cutting the tree down, and then the people came and removed so I think there's a sequence there that can be done.
I did submit that as one of the things that we're asking the city to look at. So again, we're just gonna have to table it and,
On our dime or on their dime, because that, it'll cost money.
well, that will have to be discussed. So I need Rick to look at it and tell us what he thinks, and then I'll report back. So we're gonna table that until November. Okay. Application 2024-13, Fred Wright, 104 West Sixth Street pruning request. I submitted that to the city last month. And have no update on that. So that will have to be tabled. Application 2024-14, 54 East 4th Street. This is one of our dying ash trees. I believe, is that the one, 54 East 4th, the ash tree in front of the Purple House?
Right.
Yes.
She was asking for it to be pruned, and the committee last month had discussed it, and we had all thought that it'd be better if it was removed.
That's very optimistic, given there's probably 10% of the tree left.
Yeah,
That tree, I think, has been pruned a couple of times, and it just keeps getting worse, but there's literally nothing left of it.
but again, I have no response on that, update on that, so we'll have to table that until November. Number 4, application 2024-15, Gale Sites 55, The Strand, removal and replacement request. That is also a stump removal issue. The tree has been removed, but they would like to the stump removed and they'd like a new tree, right?
Exactly, right.
All right, so, again, that's on our list of, grinding that needs to be done.
I don't know if anyone is concerned about it, but that's kind of a serious spot there. If you're walking at night, I mean, you could be in for a real tumble.
Yeah.
Because it's about like yay, and then it's.
Oh, the hole you mean, like from the tree?
Right, it's a
Yeah.
silver maple and it has those roots that extend out about, 10, 12 feet in either direction. I would think that that's a fairly serious one. As is the one next to the library, which extends out of the ground, right on that grassy area. And the other one that's very, very bad is the London plane tree between 6th and 7th.
The 605
605,
Delaware Street. Yeah, it actually is very bad. That one.
Yeah, that
There's not a lot
sidewalk
of
is
space. Yeah.
extruded.
Yep, so I will, ask again about tree grinding. So these are all tree grinding issues here.
Right,
So they have to all be pushed forward. Application 2024-17 Gail Wade at 137 East Third Street. We had asked for we had asked the city to look at whether they thought they could trim that. Because there were some wires involved and have not heard any
Norman and I went and looked at that.
updates.
Did you say it was 137?
It's 137.
137?
I think the question was whether the city could do it or not.
This was on Third,
It's on
4th?
137 East Third.
It's midway between Chestnut and Harmony.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what,
Like Let's be gross.
there's the photo.
that's the linden tree.
I'm not sure. it
This
doesn't
is by Sioux Orchards.
say- I don't know where Sid lives, so.
That's the one,
Sue Orchard lives on Second Street, doesn't she? No, yeah. Second Street.
137 Third is Gail Wade.
Right,
Is that where we are?
yeah.
Yes,
Oh, okay, that's a spring flurry. And it's one of Garden Gate's gangly ones. That need
Okay.
pruning,
Okay,
yeah, that's fine, that tree's alive and well,
so it needs to be pruned,
yep.
but I think there are wires through it. So, no?
I don't think so.
Okay. So I'm not sure why we didn't,
Well, it's on the wire side of the street.
Wires in it.
Yeah, but this is a small tree, I think it's
Is
only
it?
been in like about 3 years.
Oh,
I think the question was whether Rick could do it or he needed to hire somebody. No? Norman's coming to.
No, I think, Norman just pruned 2 spring flurries. Same
Right.
match, really.
So then, can we have a motion to approve the pruning?
I moved, oh, well, so moved. Can we just say that?
No,
Oh, I move that we approve the pruning for 137 East Third Street.
Second. All in favor?
I,
We'll go along with you.
Okay. I'm not sure why that got pushed forward backwards.
did we say something about 115 East Third? Did we already go through that?
No,
Okay.
I skipped that. I apologize.
if I may, 2417 was approved last month to be put out a bid for pruning.
That's why I'm confused.
So we really don't need a motion to prune it. But
No.
the motion is already there. We just have to respond, to get Rick to.
I'll update Rick. He doesn't need a bid for that.
So we need a list of, the trees that need to be removed.
Yeah.
The stumps that need to be ground.
Yeah.
And we need another list, and I have no idea, other than say 1 or 2 trees that's on the list of the trees that need to be pruned or trimmed.
And I have all the emails I've sent. So I will gather those.
So try to sort it, yeah. Enter the booklet again, right?
What's that?
Enter the booklet again.
Yeah,
Date, person, tree, request
Progress? No progress?
after the phone.
No problem.
Okay, the application 2024-16, Len Ressiter, 115 East Third. That's a removal request. I went out and looked at that today. It's a Bradford pear. And it does look like it could use some trimming. My fear with Bradford pears is that they are so fragile that they break very easily. It does look like it's been pruned or trimmed before. And I think that it might be something that we could just recommend for trimming for now to get the branches away from the house. Anybody else?
Say there are electric wires too there.
Yeah, there are some wires in there. I looked at it, it's not that big, and it has a relatively large branch shooting out right toward the house. I think if they just took that off, it would eliminate a lot of the problem.
What happened, we had a few of them that we had to prove on Third and Fourth.
I remember that.
And, of course, we weren't doing it, so as we go out and meet whoever's doing it to make sure that it doesn't get overdone.
They hired an outside contractor.
Yeah.
That was right next door. It was the
I think
next-
that was Bartlett.
next tree down. No, it was a company from New Jersey. They came over. So, I think that a good recommendation would be, trimming the branches away from the house. Anybody like to make a motion?
We can make a motion, we turn away from the house.
Second.
Did it? Right, yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. That's all the old business. Anybody have any other things that, old business that wanted to bring up? Hey, Norman?
No.
Can you close that curtain for me? Sorry, I interrupted you. I can't see, I'm blinded.
Well, I'm wondering about one more on the list, 172 East,
Oh, fourth, yeah, we talked to, so I noted it in my report to the city. She reported that her application had not been addressed. After doing some research, I found the application on June 5th, 2023. We had approved getting quotes to prune the tree in front of her house, overhanging her roof. Rick Delgado responded that the Public Works team had trimmed that tree in December 2023 or January 2024.
Norman and I went down there and looked at it and we talked to the gal. I took pictures of it from 3 different perspectives. Doesn't appear that there's been any pruning. And it really doesn't need any pruning over the house. That area is pretty well cleaned out.
Well, there's 2 branches. You're gonna need a cherry picker or a hylet, but there's 2 branches that need to be removed that are over the house. One's actually rubbing her neighbor's dormer window. I think, because you said, if I remember right, Rick said they pruned it.
He said he trimmed that tree in December 2023.
So I think they pruned the other side away from the electric lines. But what she was talking about was a removal of the 2 limbs that are hanging over the house, and then there's small branches hanging down, big trucks are going through. So it's not a big job, but unfortunately, you need a high lift to do it.
Right, I have, so
Rick Scott was there.
that's application 2023.
Yeah, there's 2 that.
2316.
Yeah, it's 2023-16, Kathy Walsh,
Shala.
172 East Core Street.
You're at the end, but it's the,
We need to.
That's
where I think they pruned.
well, it could have been,
Yeah,
but it's very, very tiny. Because this would have just rounded out like this.
right.
So they didn't really do that.
but it's not. The dormer, you can see it's that third dormer. There's,
Down here,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, so there's two limbs there that they go back to the crotch and remove them, it'd never be a problem again,
Right in here.
yeah.
All right, so we need a motion that we would recommend that the application 2023-16 Kathy Walsh, 172 East Fourth Street. And we recommend that the city prune the tree away from the house.
Make a motion.
We have a second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's pretty good, pretty good.
So actually, somebody did respond to her original request. Right, she made it in May, and so it came out in July, right? So that's good news.
Well,
Well,
but
the fact that she
they
didn't.
pruned across the street from her.
Yeah, they didn't do a good job. I didn't say they did a good job, but
She
they
was not-
responded in some way.
If they did it, she was not aware of them coming to.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
And that's possible, I don't know, she works or whatever. So, we're going to, so we just approved to recommend that it be trimmed by the city. All right,
If they can do it, I don't know, do they have a cherry picker? Okay, yeah, and it's
One's a little higher, one's lower.
two limbs like that.
Mr. Riley, you had a question?
Is it okay to ask a question? I
Sure.
don't want to delay the commission's
No, no.
time. I just had I was, following up with it weekly. And I had a question about, application 2024-13 on Sixth Street near
Oh, yeah,
Harmony, Tremont. Sycamore trees all
Yeah.
along there. The one at number 104, which was a request for pruning. I'm just wondering how that differs from all the other sycamores along Sixth Street.
I'm glad you brought that up.
I didn't see any difference between that one and the,
Depends who
I used
made
to
the
live
request, I
on
think.
in one of those houses and,
No,
I was
it's,
curious about those big sycamores. I raked those leaves for decades.
Don't feel bad. I have two in the back of my house,
Okay,
and then my neighbor across the street has two. But the problem is that I don't really have to take care of mine. All his leaves blow over my house and end up in the backyard.
those trees all look pretty consistent
Well,
in
this, I reread this application today. I'm glad, I was gonna bring it up, so thank you so much. The application asks for the pruning of 7 sycamore trees along Sixth Street.
Yeah.
They're requesting the pruning of all 7 trees.
they were getting big in 1972 when I was raking them.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
So that's,
They're bigger
They're
now.
looking,
what's that?
you wanna look at them?
I've looked at them. I mean, if you look at the sycamore trees along Sixth Street, they all could be, as you were
All you
saying.
have to do is get another 35,000.
Yeah, so we didn't approve anything for that.
Thank you for clarifying.
Thank you for bringing it up. Whether or not we can
Impossible.
trim 7 trees and have a budget left would be,
Even with the 32, we don't want that.
well, I mean, it'd be one of the things where I would suggest that we do, maybe do a couple at a time.
Maybe we see if Rick can, because then that will affect our
Some of the
budget.
big trees.
Yeah.
I mean, if he can get up in there, depending on where it is, I mean, the trees that I watch things cut. I
Traffic areas.
don't, just make sure that there's nothing near it,
To shut down.
but don't take big weeds out of the tree. And the guy did a good job. Even the guy who lived there.
Will these trees, when trimmed, still have a canopy over the street?
Yeah, I mean, you can trim, if you're just trimming the branches that are heading over the house, yeah.
Is that what we're doing, trimming those branches that are
Yeah,
interfering?
well,
with the
that was
homes?
that was the primary request. But I missed the 7 part.
And of course, you realize there's a precedent for it because we took down 1, 2, 3 London Plains on the corner of Sixth and Delaware.
Yeah.
And we took down 4. 2 of them were overhanging Mrs. Travers' house into Miss Carlin's. And they were afraid that the limbs would fall at some time and, crush those three houses. So that came out, and then the one in behind it had limbs going over. And then the one on the other corner where Jackie lives, that was.
But you
in
took
that
them
next
out
door.
though, you didn't print them, you just took them out.
Took them out, yeah,
That street is so beautiful when the trees.
I know,
you know.
yeah. But we
just-
just kind of cleared the whole corner. There was one by, Pete Toner's on the other side.
Right, and that block, that intersection looks so nude right now.
Yeah, yeah.
It really does.
And I don't know what happened on the, funeral home side. There must have been, London Plains along under the great big tree pits, and they're cut out in the concrete.
The Delaware Street,
It's Sixth
No,
Street.
Or the
going on
Sixth Street.
six east. There are like 4 big tree pits there,
Yeah,
and then there are
That one
3.
is- That one is really bad.
Yeah, and that's down by your place, and then you have 3 London Plains in a
Yeah.
row. So I'm just wondering if that was part of what Linda Susky was talking about as the 1948 planting of London Plains in the town.
that's where the sidewalk is all.
Exactly, yeah.
Destroyed.
So those are all historic now, and they're off
Luckily,
limits in terms, we probably,
Andrew fixed the concrete sidewalk
yeah,
down there.
yeah,
What
we're,
do you-
we're going like this.
what are you saying about historic? We can't do what? Because of historic?
Well,
You're
I-
just about to say something?
A bit, I'm just full of tomfoolery, but,
Being dramatic.
Oh, okay.
there are people who love those trees very, very much.
Okay.
You're talking about London Plains
The-
specifically.
All the London Plains,
Yeah.
it's really an LA in the town that the only one left. Then the other ones are on Second Street by the Presbyterian,
At my house,
Okay.
yeah, down by your
Oh, I
house.
think there's sycamores there, no?
I have one over my house. So what should we do? I mean, one of the options would be to just trim 1 or 2 at a time and work our way through.
Well, what I would do is let's check with Rick, see if he can do them, even if he can do a couple at a time,
Right.
then at least it's not costing us.
Just a suggestion, but maybe it'd be good to have Norman go out there and take a look at
Right.
various ones and what you could cut off without having the tree go this way and that way.
Hmm.
That's what I did that last
And
time.
some of those, limbs are, as
Yeah.
easily as big as trunks. Are you up for that, Norman?
Sure.
Do a walkabout?
They weren't as big as that one branch on that tree you showed me on back in where that big house was.
Oh, on Second Street there, yeah.
The trunk was smaller than the branch.
Yeah, that was a catalpa,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm looking at them going,
Scared to death.
So do we need a motion, I think. Or no, we're gonna table it and then,
Yeah, check with Rick to see if he
check
can
with
do it.
Rick.
Yeah.
And have him ask Norman nicely. He'll walk over and look at it. All right, so we don't need a motion for that.
if you save him some trouble, just tell him you've already talked to Norman. And he shook his head.
Let's see. We'll table that to November as well. Okay,
See what you've done, yeah.
Sorry.
The whole thing going, no,
It was right there.
all right, moving on to, anybody else have any old business? Application, the new business. I did find, I think in the back here, there's more detailed information about the new request. Maybe not. Well, I was able to look at, I went out today and looked at the, I'll tell you what I found. So application 2024-18, I believe is 1002 Young Street. So Young Street is, right back in, Shawtown,
Right.
right near where the, Italian American Club Park is.
Right.
And in her report, she asked for removal of the tree because pine cones are hitting her car. And,
That's like the guy, remember the guy, he wanted us to take that tree down because he had that 3x3 planting area in front of his door and it wouldn't grow. So he wanted us to take the tree down for him.
Maybe it was in the shade, so it
Yeah.
didn't get any sun.
And the tree was not a cheap tree, and on top of that, it was perfect. There was nothing.
I drove out there and there's no pine trees in that area at all. There is a big oak tree. But I believe I don't think the oak tree is on city property, so. I was gonna ask Art, who's our, map person, he could look, see if he can look on, see where the boundary, it looks like you go down, if you stay on South Street, you get to South Street and you keep going all the way down to the end where the park is. It's on the right-hand side, so I think that runs along with the, Markle Trail, I believe. So it may actually be state property. We ran into that before.
Well, we ran into that with that, one that we already approved to do.
But, and then, so we're going to table and see what we can find out. Art's gonna do a little research about property lines over there. But it's an oak tree, if that's the tree it is. That they're referring to. Application 2024-19, Gregory Brown. I went to see him today as well. Here's a pruning request. Greg Brown lives at Dolby Alley. And he's the very last house, the blue house on the Dolby Alley. And the tree is a big 90-foot pin oak. And it's right next to their property, but it is not his property. It's city property or Battery Park property. So that's another research project. If you could find out where the property line is, because if it's a Battery Park tree, that's not within our jurisdiction. I don't know if they would call it a city tree or not, so that's what we would have to look at. There's 3 huge oak trees that run right along his sidewalk. But the one right nearest the house is the one he's worried about. It's big. If you look at the photo, it's way taller than his house. And he has a major squirrel issue. He has a squirrel motel living next door. I mean, there's 5 squirrel nests there. So we'll have to wait to see, table that one as well and wait to see where the property line is. And, I know Ron and I have talked about this before, application 2024-20, Cherry Tree Plaza Condo Association. So that's the, condos on Delaware Street, right there, you know where we're talking
But
about.
they have insurance, right? The Capital Insurance?
It's below,
Right
it's
next to it?
right before that, yeah.
Right, yeah.
So when you drive through there's 2 huge Bartlett pears, I believe. And beautiful in the spring, but they're not a decent tree. And they have a tree pit with brick surrounding them, and they're asking that those trees be removed. So they're big, very big,
Really big.
really big.
Were they healthy?
Well, there's a
Yes.
picture of them here,
Yeah, they're really healthy, actually.
the last page.
Although the picture is from 2010, I think she said.
Yeah, not too bad there, although she probably just kept this picture because it was a branch that fell down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, that was the point. She was
Yeah,
showing,
exactly.
you read her application, she gives you the whole story. It's a large limb that fell and caused quite a lot of damage, quote unquote. And,
Are Bartlett's known for that?
yeah, I had three in my yard and I've lived there for 10 years. They were all fell apart at one point or another.
Yeah.
Invasive species.
Yeah. And, they, they planted them because you see them all, because they're beautiful in the spring, yeah. See them especially along the highways, but, they're not very hardy. So,
And that's a bit of a problem if you take these two down, and then what about the one on, was it Third Street you were talking about, the Bartlett pear?
oh, yeah. And that one I think the city can take down without any trouble.
On their own, yeah.
Is
But
this city
these-
property, by the way, or is this shared?
That was another question.
Uh-huh.
So,
Another question.
another question for Art to do research. It's hard to tell. And so where the line would be, although we planted trees
Yes,
I think,
along the
I,
brick wall there.
I'm just guessing that it's city property. Cause we
I would think so.
we put the two spring flurries on the other side.
Yeah,
And this is fine. I mean, if we took those out, you could probably put maybe three spring flurry along there, which would keep the theme going from the ferry cutoff down to the battery.
I think, so,
I think it's
Yeah,
a
but
good
you're
idea.
talking about, if we can do it ourselves, it's one thing, but
well, I don't think so. I don't know.
and you're probably talking about 4,000 or 5,000 apiece.
Well, maybe.
A piece.
Well, I think that maybe what we should do is ask Rick to get a, estimate of what it would cost to have the trees removed. Then we can work from there. Agreed?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Anybody want to make a motion
I make a motion.
that we get Rick to make,
the,
to get us estimate for removal of 2 Bartlett trees.
actually, the one downstairs is a little smaller, so.
Continue to, and we put two in front of the wall here. If you take this down, there's room for like 1, 2, 3, 4. And then how far they go down.
And these are really new, going this way.
Yes, please.
The ones-
The ones that you put on, I just.
Thank
I second the motion.
Did we second that? Yeah.
Alice just did.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Like,
So, what's interesting in the application, she called the trees, she gave the trees another name,
She's asking for 2 of
Cleveland
them
pears.
to be removed?
Cleveland pears.
It looks like they're.
it's a cultivar.
It's the same.
Is the brand, it's the same. There's like 8 or 9 cultivars. Bradford pear is the original. It had problems, so they played around and came up with 6
so
or
maybe
7.
this one's better, we shouldn't have messed with it.
Obviously, they played around with it in Cleveland.
I don't know where they get the names.
Yeah, I think that finding out what it would cost to remove them is gonna be the most important part of this decision, so. All right, okay. Any other new business?
I have a question. Remember that tree across from the parking lot? The new parking lot they put in
On Third Street?
Third Street? The tree that you had all the roots going through the bricks? And you had to take all the bricks up and then put them back in?
You're gonna have to lead me more. I've done that so many times.
Is- What sidewalk hasn't he fixed?
It's it's across the street from the side, from that parking lot.
From the new
The new
trustees
houses?
parking lot.
Right.
The new houses or the
The-
garage there?
There's 2 new houses,
Yeah, there's two.
and then there's that garage house,
Looks
Big
like
low
I'm
lying
trying to
house.
think of,
Foundry, isn't that Foundry
Yes.
Alley?
Right.
yeah, but anyway. It's got this like black spot coming up from the roots on one side, and it's like about that big, and it seems to be getting bigger. And I forget her.
Is this where the tree was?
Oh, yeah, it's the same place where the tree was. But the problem is that it didn't look good. I mean, I have took my, program and did everything I could do, to try to find out what's going. But it couldn't tell me anything.
So you're talking about a tree that currently exists, still
Yeah.
standing.
And it's not a real small tree, I mean, but it's small enough.
So it's a new tree that was put in
Well,
that spot?
it's, I'm gonna say, when you did it, it was probably 6, 7 feet maybe tall. Now it's probably 8, 9 feet.
Yeah, I'm having trouble figuring out where.
Yeah, me too.
Did you go to any of the music things?
Mhm.
The music things they had in the park?
Oh, yeah.
The girl who does and I know her name as well as I. do.
Melissa?
No,
Yeah,
the
okay.
girl that does the announcing,
Laura
Laura.
Fontana.
I knew
She doesn't
her.
live anywhere near there.
She's on Fourth Street.
Well, maybe somebody she knows, because she was,
She's near Harmony,
She's what?
near Harmony on Fourth.
Right, yeah.
well, maybe it's a relative then, because she said she was sitting there. And she said, you know, she's been having this problem, so I thought it was her house.
Well, maybe we can get more information and talk about that next time. All right, any other new business? New applications, we've been through all that. Any member comment or discussion? I think Ron should give us an update on the recent planting.
Oh, something down there for,
And
Candy.
for the members, for next, Kathy has suggested that we remove the city tree inventory and I agree that the tree watering plan and city tree inventory don't need to be a regular part of our discussion. Seem to talk about it regardless. Okay, oh, this is a full report. Alice, did you submit your letter this to the?
Yeah, it's an article really. I didn't have all the information, but I mean, I could redo it if
No, I have information for you.
you do.
I've got-
See, we have to. The deadline is tomorrow at noon. That's why, but I didn't hear from you. I just wrote something up
Next week.
next week.
So that's what I was planning.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just that
because-
it's not news after, 2 weeks later. I mean, it can be a story about, planning and all that, but this was like, I was thinking it would be a news story. This is what you saw on Friday and this is what, we can do that too. We can, as a follow-up,
Yeah,
okay?
well, I have a picture of Cindy Held with her tree
Right,
that she planted, and I thought that might be
Yeah.
newsworthy, given.
sure.
I don't know any other woman who's ever planted a tree from scratch in town. And,
My wife,
I was gonna say, probably.
well, right out on the sidewalk, Scott? Well, then this is the second happening. This is, well, maybe that isn't news. I just,
Well, I was concerned because, if you wanted to be in the paper as a news story, this is what you saw on Friday. And
right,
it's
right,
exciting, we've got new, and, I did talk about the fact that now Delaware Street has been, the whole idea of the trees on Delaware Street is now being completed. That you mentioned to me the other day.
right.
So, but we can always do a follow-up.
No, I don't think we need to do that, but, yeah, and it's only news to Scott and me because we were at the beginning of the idea
Uh-huh.
of planting the whole, Main Street but as we've just indicated, it isn't done officially because we're gonna take two of the pear trees out and then we're gonna move up along the way. And then if they ever straighten the area out at the triangle, we've got, room to not only beautify it, but maybe treeify it in some way.
Let me put it this way. The reason that we didn't accomplish what we wanted to is solved because now we have people that are very interested. They are doing what they need to do. And so it's a big difference.
I think we get a pass on those, we get a pass on those because they're not actually on street.
Yeah.
They're off a little bit, so.
Well, anyway, this isn't a total account, but it's a little bit of news, and I guess the important thing is that you're still moving forward on, the west side. And you've got, an opening there with Mr. Harriman's house. That's 33 West Fourth. And then there's another possible opening, where Rod Gillespie and his neighbor, and now there are two other houses along there. You might be able to get like 4 trees in there. The neighbor on the other side does not want a tree. So you can't go in that direction very easily. There's still a lot of spots there. Norman and I were looking, at the library. You take the stump out and you can go down 6, 7, 8 trees along there. And that's in that grassy knoll. You go to the east side, and then you have that grassy knoll going down for a couple 100 feet.
Mhm.
And then the other place that Norman was looking at, rather attentively was alongside of the post office.
Oh, yeah.
You put 2 trees in front, why not put 2, 3, 4 trees alongside? And it's a huge grassy area. So, in terms of expanding what you want to do, and I'm only saying this because you need to start thinking about planting in the spring right now. Then for fall, you need to start thinking about it in June to do your walk around and where the trees might go. And then get in touch with Norman and Doris Quinn and
What should be the criteria, if you've got all these different potentials, what should we use as criteria, which we prioritize? I mean, is that,
well, one priority you've already established in your 5-year plan. And since you had planted, well, you didn't. But we had been planting so many trees over on the east side. It was almost like 10-1 versus west. So one of the goals was to start planting on the west side. And how many trees have we planted there so far? Maybe about 25, 28, something like that. And on the east side, you're probably up to 90. So it's still a huge imbalance, and I would think that that would be, one of the goals that you want to focus on.
take a look at that 5-year plan again, just to refresh my memory about.
But I think it's wonderful if you go out as a twosome or invite Carl and me or Ed or whomever with you. And then you go out and start looking and start, what hypothetically, and then you start thinking, well, what trees could go there? Or they're under the wires, or, well, we've got all big ones on this side, how do we balance them? Those are aesthetic questions, Alice. Those are the fun ones.
Yeah,
Yeah. What's always kind of slightly depressing for me is all the trees to take down. And we start every meeting with the idea that, we're gonna, what's on the list? Well,
right.
maybe we could flip that around and start talking about the trees that we're seeing that could be planted or need to be planted and.
Yeah, you're right.
Maybe change the focus of that a little bit.
Yeah,
I was also thinking of maybe splitting the budget up. We've talked about that many times, and make some motion that, look, you've got $30,000 and 15 goes into the removal and the trimming, 15 goes into the planting, and, wait a minute, we've got a subcommittee for beautification. Why don't we have a subcommittee for planting? So, Alice and Arthur or, whomever join in, and then you go out, right? That's part of what you do month to month. You go out and say, well, we were out looking at such and such, and this could be a priority. And then discuss it all as a group.
You know, the thing is though, you say, well, half of it, say 15,000 for removal. The two Bartlett pears, $4,000 each. I
No.
mean, we're almost done.
But, no, but that's why you need to split it. And once that money is used for the Bartlett pears or whatever, it's done, right?
You're done.
That's done until next July.
I mean, we had one tree, the one across the street from the insurance place, wasn't it? Like $50-some. And what we did was we paid half and they paid half.
Who's they?
You're talking about $605.
Yeah, Jack Renewski,
Oh,
with very gentle prodding, said, I'd be happy to pay for half of that,
Yeah,
but that's unusual,
it is.
yeah, I know.
you know.
We were clapping and dancing.
But think of the idea, you know, of splitting the budget and then it's done, right? And then it doesn't impede anything you're doing with your planting.
And realistically, then if we have something come up that's of major importance, we go back to them and tell them, whatever it is.
Can we discuss that at the next meeting? Maybe have a good come up with a proposal for splitting and keeping track of where we are on both things, you know?
Yeah.
Like the motion that, whatever, at the next meeting.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Now, because it looks like more and more of these requests are coming in, you know, please take out my Jagunda tree, and then, you know, of course, the city can't do all of them, but they're
And
expensive.
it's really a shame that we take the vast majority of our budget for removing trees,
Yeah,
when really our goal is to have the
Well-
city have more trees. in
that's
it.
the idea.
The way it goes is that if the tree is within reason, then we take it down, not we take it down, but the city takes it down.
Yeah,
Rick takes it down, his guys.
right.
But if it gets to be a major big, then they can't do it because their equipment's not.
Wouldn't it be great if Bartlett could take some trees down too?
As
I mean,
as a
he-
community
he's
service
taken-
project for taking the $5,800 year after
Right.
year for,
Right, but I mean, if they do have that guarantee, maybe there's
You never
something to be
know.
Well, I
said to
don't
that.
think that those trees we're talking about are anything they've been doing, so.
Why have a guarantee then? If they're
No,
never-
I'm just saying that the trees we're talking about are not.
Aren't the ash trees at Bartlett?
No, I'm talking about ash trees. I'm not talking about those specific ones. I'm saying if we have a budget that only goes, let's say, $15,000 a year, and the ash trees are becoming a real problem, it would be better, it would be lovely if Bartlett could contribute to that. So we wouldn't have to take that out of our own budget. Because we have things like the Bartlett pears we gotta get rid of. Anyway,
Well, I
it's a
don't think that,
theoretical.
I don't think that he's going to, if it's a tree, maybe if we did a few at a time, but then we'd still get hurt anyway.
well, that's the
I mean-
idea about having a
Right.
limited amount of money in that category, and once it's spent, it's
It's
spent.
done.
On the issue of the budget, let me just bring you up to date here in terms of the trees that we've just planted for like 21, 22 trees total. The bill was roughly about $8,000. And then I have $2,000 from the trustees that I'm contributing to it. So your bill is about $6,000. Add the $6,000 with the $1,100 that Carl and in the group planted. That's about $7,000 coming out of the budget of $8,000. Right? So you've still got money left. You've got money to start thinking about spring planting and also using the money up in a productive way.
I was gonna say, once you've got a goal there, then you prioritize things that are reaching your goal rather than, coming up every week, every month and saying, can we do this, can we do that?
Well, the
Yeah.
problem
You know what I mean?
is-
Like,
So you can
more of a
plan.
strategy.
Yeah.
The problem is with the trees, they show up at the worst
I know.
times.
I know.
I mean, we we were like already in debt, remember? About 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
We were way in the hole already, and then all of a sudden we had this, Chogundo tree. I forget where it was now, but, it was,
Well, that's the problem with, not understanding what
Right.
the budget is. And up until very recent, I mean, this is all new that this information is being shared with us. And we've got this much money in the budget. Up until now, basically, it's been, well, who knows how much money is in the budget?
well,
Some
before.
of it is coming out of trimming
Right.
and we'd never know. Yeah, so we were sometimes in the hole and then contributions had to come out of the community to try to balance the budget.
Do we ever get charged for anything that the city does? I mean, like if they have to get some equipment or something, do we get
No.
charged for that? No? Oh, good.
I don't think so.
Now, that comes under the Public Works
Yeah,
umbrella, I
he
believe.
tries to do what he can on that, but
Mhm.
there's, only so much you can't take down.
I have a bit of good news in the miscellaneous, column. I had a new neighbor who would like to remain anonymous, who has taken up the idea of trying to help the Givens family preserve the Catawba
Oh,
tree.
Wonderful.
wonderful.
Yeah,
Great.
that is great, yeah.
So he's gonna work with them and do whatever he can to help to facilitate the.
Did you meet her too?
Meet her too.
His, whoever, his wife,
I have met.
that's Ron,
She what?
Ron? No, cause I'm just telling you, because I
If
had,
you wanted to be anonymous, don't mention her name.
Yeah,
I didn't mention her name, but no, cause there's somebody from your street was down at the, our yard sale, and we started talking, and I said, and I told her, the tree committee, and she says, oh, I know. So she's got, her neighbors have trees that are all, like closing in her yard. So she says, what do I do? I said, you do what you have to do. You go over, get the thing, turn it in, and then it'll come to us, and then we'll figure out what to do.
So on miscellany, I'm gonna update the city tree inventory
Yes, sir.
for the new trees. And the tree watering plan, it's very interesting, at least to me. We put in roughly 20 trees and none of them, 0, go on the city list right now. There are people that are stepping up,
Oh,
To do the
people are doing
watering
it. Oh,
for
yeah.
Well, being
Uh-huh.
watered, yeah.
follow it? So what's gonna happen in the spring, we're gonna take, I think, some trees off the watering schedule. Some of these trees can go on. And then the other bit of miscellany on watering is that, Annalise's brother, Alexander, who's just turning 16 and he's about 6'6" already, has agreed to help with the watering and so that's a good thing.
Yeah,
Right? We've got hoses now practically up and down the main street. It's hardly a place you can go where there isn't a
Really?
spigot.
And people who are gracious enough to allow.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
well, it's, it's right for them to get involved.
Right.
They feel like it's, their trees.
Yeah, well, this is all new, Scott. This is, this is something, up until a few years ago,
Well, I know that it wasn't before when I started.
they were beating me with a broom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, any other business? Anybody else wants to bring
And the
up?
final thing I'd like to say is from now on, it's up to you to work with whomever you want. I hope it's Gateway, because they've distinguished themselves as being fair as can be with getting trees and charging a nominal amount for them.
The Hockessin?
It's you, and that's why I'm suggesting maybe it's a good idea to form a subcommittee to start thinking about this seriously and what the sequence is right now. I'm happy to share it with you. In fact, I'm gonna give it to all of you, and you're on your own. Well, not totally. I mean,
Are you
gonna-
saying you're retiring? Is that
You're gonna
what
be
you're
working
telling
with
us here?
Norman and people like that. Yeah, I'm staying. My goal was to get the main street, pretty much taken care of, yeah.
Well, we'll miss you at these meetings, yeah.
So Scott, thank you for your service.
Well, we thank you for your service.
Yeah.
The only problem is that a lot of people around here have no idea what you did.
Didn't do
It's
anything,
your fault.
That's the way he wants it.
I know.
didn't do anything. You won't see my footprint anywhere.
Excuse me?
Like, and any other discussion? I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Almost